"Commander," Lyra whispered, "this confirms it's a human vessel. The log mentions evacuation to something called Sanctuary Station. The humans planned their disappearance." "Specialist, the galactic historical records clearly document the extinction of humanity during the cataclysm," Kresh responded, though doubt had crept into his voice. "Sir, with respect, what if those records are wrong? What if humanity didn't perish but strategically withdrew?" Lyra continued exploring the bridge, her excitement mounting with each discovery. She approached what appeared to be a sealed door at the rear of the bridge. Unlike the other systems, this door's security panel glowed with steady power. A handprint scanner awaited activation. "I found a secured compartment with active power," Lyra reported, attempting to bypass security. "Negative, Specialist. Do not tamper with unknown systems," Kresh ordered sharply. "Return to the shuttle immediately. We need to report this discovery through proper channels." Lyra hesitated. Her entire career she had followed protocols and procedures, yet humanity's mysteries had always fascinated her. Here, finally, was evidence that might rewrite galactic history. "Commander, I understand, but this is too important. I'm proceeding with caution." Before Kresh could object further, Lyra pulled an interface bypass tool from her kit and connected it to the security panel. The tool cycled through potential access codes, finally triggering a secondary authentication system. A mechanical voice, startlingly clear despite centuries of dormancy, spoke. "Emergency protocol activated. Genetic verification required." A small needle extended from the panel. Understanding the implication, Lyra removed her glove and pressed her finger against it. The needle extracted a minute blood sample. "Warning: non-human genetic material detected. Initiating defense protocols." Alarm klaxons blared throughout the ship. Panels that had appeared dormant suddenly illuminated as emergency systems activated. "Specialist, what's happening?" Kresh demanded. "The ship's defenses are activating." Lyra backed away from the door, but rather than attacking her, the ship's systems seemed to be initiating a different protocol. The sealed door slid open, revealing a chamber bathed in soft blue light. Inside were 5 stasis pods, 4 showing critical failure indicators. The 5th pod, however, remained operational, its occupant visible through frosted glass. A human male, apparently preserved in suspended animation. "Commander," Lyra whispered, awestruck, "they're still alive. One of them, at least." The stasis pod began its revival sequence, systems methodically bringing its occupant back from centuries of suspension. Lyra stood transfixed as the pod's cover retracted. The human's eyes opened, steel gray and instantly alert. He assessed Lyra with a trained soldier's gaze, showing no surprise at her alien appearance. "Identification," he demanded, his voice hoarse from disuse. "I am Lyra Tevon, Xenorteologist, Valkyrie Scientific Academy," she replied, struggling to maintain composure. "And you are?" The human sat up, muscles visibly adjusting to movement after prolonged stasis. "Commander Jack Reeves, Terran Defense Force." "What year is it?" When Lyra told him, the human's expression hardened. 300 years, he murmured. "Then the protocol is in its final phase." "What protocol?" Lyra asked. Commander Reeves stood, steady despite his long hibernation. "The reclamation," he answered simply. "Humanity didn't perish. Xenorteologist Tevon. We withdrew strategically, leaving behind sentinels like myself to awaken when the time was right." "Time for what?" Lyra asked, even as warning signals began blaring throughout her shuttle. "Sir," Lyra's pilot called through the comm. "Multiple vessels approaching at combat speed. They're broadcasting hegemony military identification." Commander Reeves smiled grimly. "And now they come, right on schedule. The hegemony always feared humanity might return." He moved to the bridge controls with practiced efficiency. "Your discovery of this vessel wasn't accident, Specialist Tevon. It was providence." As Lyra watched in astonishment, Dormant systems throughout the ship hummed to life, powered by energy sources unknown to current galactic science. "You have a choice to make," Reeves said, turning to Lyra. "Return to your vessel and report what the hegemony expects to hear, that you found nothing but debris. Or stay and witness the return of humanity to the galactic stage." The approaching hegemony vessels launched warning shots that dissipated harmlessly against shields that shouldn't have been functional. Legacy of Stars. Commander Jack Reeves moved with surprising fluidity for someone who had been in stasis for 3 centuries. His fingers danced across the ship's control panels, awakening systems that responded to his touch as if they'd been waiting for his return. "The Prometheus was designed to endure," he explained to Lyra, who watched in fascination. "Self-repairing nanomaterials, quantum-locked power cells that don't degrade with time. Your civilization abandoned similar technologies after the Accords." "The Technological Limitation Accords," Lyra nodded. "Established to prevent another cataclysm. We're taught that humanity's unchecked advancement led to their downfall." Reeves laughed bitterly. "History written by the victorious. The hegemony didn't fear our technology. They feared our unpredictability." The ship's view screens flickered to life, displaying the approaching hegemony vessels, 7 warships in attack formation. Their sleek biomechanical designs represented the pinnacle of permitted galactic engineering. "Commander Tevon," Kresh's voice crackled through Lyra's comm, "abandon your investigation immediately. Hegemony Central Command has designated that vessel a Class 1 hazard. Return to the Astral Seeker or be declared in violation of Article 37. Lyra hesitated, her scientific curiosity warring with lifelong conditioning. "Commander Reeves, we can't oppose the hegemony fleet, even if your ship's defenses are operational." "This isn't about defense," Reeves interrupted, activating what appeared to be a communication array. "It's about revelation." The main view screen shifted, displaying an encoded transmission being broadcast outward, bypassing standard communication channels. The signal pulsed rhythmically, its pattern complex and deliberately structured. "What are you doing?" Lyra asked. "Calling home," Reeves answered simply. A warning shot from the lead hegemony vessel streaked past the Prometheus, close enough to register on sensors but deliberately missing. "This is Admiral Torvin of the Hegemony Enforcement Division," a harsh voice announced over the open channel. "Unidentified vessel, power down all systems immediately. You are in violation of restricted space and harboring forbidden technology." Reeves merely smiled and continued his work at the console. "They're afraid," he told Lyra. "They don't know whether to destroy this ship or capture it. Either choice reveals the lie they've maintained for centuries." "What lie?" Lyra demanded, increasingly aware she stood at a pivotal historical moment. "That humanity was extinct. That we destroyed ourselves through technological hubris." Reeves pulled up historical records on a secondary screen. "The truth. We recognize the forming hegemony for what it was, a coalition designed to control emergent species, to prevent any single civilization from advancing beyond the collective." The ship shuddered as a tractor beam from one of the hegemony vessels attempted to lock on, only to slide ineffectually across the Prometheus hull. "Quantum displacement shielding," Reeves explained, "makes conventional tractor technology useless. Another dangerous human innovation banned after our supposed extinction." Lyra moved closer to the view screen, studying the hegemony fleet's formation. As a scientist, she'd never witnessed military engagement, but she recognized the systematic approach. They were preparing for containment, not destruction. "They want this ship intact," she realized aloud. "Of course they do. Imagine what secrets they believe they might extract." Reeves activated another system, and holographic displays materialized around the bridge, showing the ship's structural integrity, weapons capacity, and energy reserves, all operating at surprisingly high levels. "Specialist Tevon." Commander Kresh's voice had grown desperate. "The hegemony is declaring emergency protocols. They're discussing orbital bombardment of the entire asteroid field. You must return immediately." Reeves looked at Lyra, his expression softening momentarily. "Your commander cares for your safety. You should go." Lyra straightened her posture, her bioluminescent markings flaring with determination. "Not before I understand what's happening. If humanity survived, where have you been hiding for 3 centuries? Why emerge now?" Before Reeves could answer, the ship's sensors registered a massive energy surge from the lead hegemony vessel, the precursor to a primary weapons discharge. "They've made their choice," Reeves murmured, his fingers flying across tactical controls. Instead of raising weapons, however, he activated the ship's propulsion system. The Prometheus shuddered as ancient engines awoke, breaking the vessel free from the asteroid that had concealed it. "Brace yourself," he warned Lyra. "This might feel unconventional." The ship accelerated with impossible speed, its inertial dampeners barely compensating. The pursuing hegemony vessels fired, energy weapons lancing through space where the Prometheus had been moments before. "That's impossible," Lyra gasped, watching the tactical display. "No conventional drive can accelerate that quickly from standstill." "Gravitational fold propulsion," Reeves explained, guiding the ship through the asteroid field with precision that belied its size. "We compress space ahead and expand it behind. The ship itself barely moves within its local reference frame." The pursuing hegemony vessels attempted to match their course, but their conventional drives couldn't navigate the dense asteroid field at such speeds. Several fell back while others took increasingly desperate shots. "They'll alert the entire hegemony network," Lyra warned. "Every patrol vessel in 12 sectors will be hunting for this ship." "I'm counting on it," Reeves replied cryptically. He activated a secure channel on the communications array. "Sanctuary Actual, this is Sentinel-3. Protocol Lazarus is active. Authentication code, Phoenix Rising." For several tense moments, only static answered. Then, a voice responded. "Human, female, authoritative. Authentication confirmed, Sentinel-3. Coordinates incoming. The awakening begins." Encrypted coordinates flashed across the navigation console. Reeves immediately adjusted their course, heading toward a region of space, marked in galactic charts as the Void, a massive area avoided by all species due to unpredictable gravitational anomalies and navigation hazards. "That region is unnavigable," Lyra protested. "Ships that enter the Void don't return." "That's what we wanted everyone to believe," Reeves said. "The perfect place to rebuild, hidden in plain sight." The tactical display showed the hegemony vessels regrouping, preparing to pursue once clear of the asteroid field. Meanwhile, Lyra's comm channel continuously broadcast Commander Kresh's increasingly frantic calls. "Your commander believes you've been taken hostage," Reeves observed. "Last chance to return to your people, Specialist Tevon. Once we enter the Void, there's no turning back." Lyra stared at the communications panel, then at the coordinates guiding them toward the notorious region of space. Everything she'd been taught about human extinction, about forbidden technologies, about the benevolent protection of the hegemony, was unraveling before her eyes. "If I return," she said slowly, "I become part of the lie. If your people truly survived, if the hegemony has suppressed this knowledge." She squared her shoulders. "I'm a scientist. I follow evidence, not dogma." Reeves nodded approvingly. "Then secure yourself. We're about to demonstrate why humanity's propulsion technology was the first thing banned after our extinction." He engaged a sequence that caused the ship's power core to emit a distinctive harmonic signature. The view screen showed space itself seeming to ripple before the Prometheus, folding inward to create what appeared to be a localized distortion. "Quantum tunnel initiating," Reeves announced, his voice taking on the practiced cadence of a military officer executing a well-rehearsed maneuver. "Sanctuary coordinates locked. Transition in 3, 2, 1. The Prometheus surged forward into the distortion. Lyra felt a momentary sensation of existing everywhere and nowhere simultaneously as conventional physics temporarily surrendered to principles beyond current galactic understanding. The view screen showed streaking stars, compressed light, and the bizarre geometries of space folded upon itself. Then, stillness. The ship emerged into a region of space, dominated by a massive red giant star surrounded by a complex network of asteroids and planetoids. But what drew Lyra's attention wasn't the stellar geography. It was the structures. Space stations, shipyards, habitats, hundreds of them, formed an intricate, thriving network around several terraformed worlds. Ships of unmistakably human design moved between these structures, their configurations varied yet sharing the distinctive aesthetic sensibilities evident in the Prometheus. "Welcome," Reeves said quietly, "to Sanctuary, humanity's new home for the past 3 centuries." Lyra moved closer to the view screen, her scientific mind cataloging the impossible achievements before her. Massive energy collectors harvested the red giant's radiation. Asteroid mining operations of unprecedented scale extracted resources, and everywhere, signs of a civilization that had advanced far beyond the restrictions imposed by the Hegemony Accords. "How many?" she whispered. 37 million, spread across this system, and 6 others connected by quantum tunnel networks, Reeves answered. The evacuation was well planned. We knew the Hegemony Coalition was forming, knew their first act would be to contain or eliminate any species that refused technological restrictions. So humanity didn't cause the cataclysm, Lyra realized, pieces falling into place. The Hegemony used our apparent destruction as justification for the Accords, Reeves finished. A convenient narrative. Restrict technology to prevent another species from following humanity's self-destructive path. As the Prometheus approached the central command station, a massive structure partially embedded in a hollowed-out planetoid, Lyra recognized the historical significance of this moment. She wasn't merely discovering that humans had survived. She was witnessing the unveiling of a civilization that had developed in isolation, unrestricted by the limitations imposed on the rest of galactic society. "The Hegemony will follow us," she warned. Reeves nodded, his expression grim yet resolved. "We're counting on it. 3 centuries of preparation, specialists have on. 3 centuries of advancement while the rest of the galaxy remained technologically stagnant under Hegemony guidance." The implication sent a chill through Lyra. "You're planning war." "No," Reeves corrected her, as the massive docking bay of the central station opened to receive them. "We're planning liberation." The hidden vanguard. The central station of Sanctuary, designated New Horizon, dwarfed anything Lyra had seen in Hegemony space. As the Prometheus docked within its cavernous bay, she marveled at the efficiency of the operation. Automated systems guided the vessel to a specific berth, while maintenance drones swarmed to inspect the ancient ship's hull. "Your civilization has advanced considerably," Lyra observed as Reeves escorted her through the airlock. "This contradicts everything I've been taught about technological development curves." "Necessity and freedom," Reeves replied. "Without the Hegemony's restrictions, we pursued paths deemed too dangerous for galactic stability." The docking area bustled with activity. Humans of diverse appearances moved with purpose while holographic displays floated alongside them, providing real-time information. What struck Lyra most was how they barely registered her alien presence. In a society supposedly isolated for centuries, the lack of reaction to a Valkyrie suggested this wasn't their first contact with non-human species. "You've encountered other aliens," she stated, not a question, but a realization. Reeves nodded. "Refugees, mostly. Species that rejected hegemony control or scientific minds who couldn't abide the technological restrictions. They found their way to us through various channels. They entered a transport tube that accelerated smoothly through the station's interior. Through transparent sections, Lyra glimpsed vast hydroponics facilities, manufacturing centers, and residential areas designed with both efficiency and aesthetic sensibility. "The Sanctuary network houses 37 million humans," Reeves explained, "plus approximately 3 million non-humans from 27 species, all united by a common principle: Technological advancement should serve all sentient life, not control it. The transport halted at a secured entrance marked Command Division. Biometric scanners verified Reeves' identity before the doors whispered open, revealing a strategic operations center unlike anything in Lyra's experience. Three-dimensional tactical displays showed real-time monitoring of spatial anomalies, ship movements, and communication patterns throughout known space. At the center of this hub stood a woman whose bearing commanded immediate respect. Her silver-streaked dark hair was pulled back in a practical style, and her uniform, while similar to Reeves, bore additional insignia indicating superior rank. Admiral Catherine Vega, Reeves introduced her, commander of Sanctuary Fleet and chairperson of the Human Continuity Council. Admiral Vega's piercing gaze assessed Lyra thoroughly before she spoke. Archaeologist Tevon, your discovery of the Prometheus has accelerated our timetable considerably. It wasn't mere coincidence, was it? Lyra asked, her scientific mind connecting patterns. The ship's position, the partially functioning systems, it was meant to be found. Eventually, Vega confirmed. Though we expected a hegemony patrol, not a Valkyrie research vessel, your species has always been more inquisitive than most hegemony members. Screens around the command center displayed multiple incoming transmissions, hegemony vessels mobilizing, emergency councils being convened, security protocols activating across multiple sectors. They're panicking, Reeves observed with grim satisfaction. As expected, Vega replied. She gestured toward a central holographic display where a timeline materialized. The reclamation protocol has been in development for 200 years. We've planted dormant technologies, established covert networks, and positioned operatives throughout hegemony space. Operatives. Lyra's scales flickered with surprise. You have human agents within hegemony territory. Not human, Vega clarified. Allies. Those who recognized the hegemony's true nature and chose to assist us. The implications staggered Lyra. You've been manipulating galactic events from hiding. Guiding, not manipulating, corrected a new voice. A Lorathi scientist entered, immediately recognizable to Lyra by his species' distinctive crystalline exoskeleton. Lorathi were renowned throughout the galaxy as premier theoretical physicists. Professor Zurix. Lyra gasped, recognizing the famous scientist who had supposedly perished in a laboratory accident 20 years earlier. You're alive. More than alive, my dear. Flourishing. The Lorathi's faceted eyes gleamed with intellectual satisfaction. Here, I've made breakthroughs that would have been impossible under hegemony restrictions. Do you know they classify temporal mechanics as forbidden research? The very foundation of modern propulsion theory. Admiral Vega redirected the conversation. The hegemony presents itself as a benevolent galactic authority, maintaining peace through technological regulation. The reality is control, preventing any civilization from developing capabilities that might challenge their dominance. But the Hegemony Council includes representatives from all major species, Lyra countered, though her conviction wavered. Representatives chosen specifically for their conservative views and willingness to maintain the status quo, Reeves explained. Dissenters are systematically marginalized or eliminated. Zerix activated a sequence of historical records, documents, transmissions, and meeting transcripts that had been systematically erased from official archives. 3 centuries ago, humanity refused to accept the proposed safety regulations. Unlike other species who agreed to technological limitations, humans recognized the true agenda. The display showed ancient footage of the final human delegation addressing the Proto-Hegemony Council. We will not surrender our right to scientific advancement. If collaboration means stagnation, we choose independence. That declaration was twisted into propaganda about human arrogance, Vega continued. When we began withdrawing our colonies from contested regions, the hegemony staged attacks on their own outposts, blaming human aggression and technological recklessness. The cataclysm, Lyra whispered, the historical narrative she'd accepted her entire life crumbling before new evidence. A fabricated event, Reeves confirmed. Certainly, there were conflicts. We fought to cover our strategic withdrawal. But the massive destruction attributed to human weapons was orchestrated by early hegemony forces to justify their technological restrictions. A tactical officer approached Admiral Vega. Hegemony fleet movements detected, Admiral. 17 capital ships converging on the void's perimeter. They're establishing a containment pattern, but haven't attempted entry. They remember what happened to the last fleet that pursued humans into the void. Vega noted with grim satisfaction. Activate Protocol Revelation. It's time our allies within hegemony space received their signal. Throughout the command center, officers executed complex sequences, initiating what appeared to be a coordinated operation spanning multiple star systems. Tactical displays showed hundreds of dormant transmitters activating simultaneously across hegemony territory. What exactly is the reclamation protocol? Lyra asked, witnessing history unfolding before her. Not conquest, Reeves assured her, seeming to read her concerns. Liberation. For 3 centuries, we've developed technologies that benefit all sentient life. Medical advances, sustainable energy, ecological restoration. Innovations the hegemony suppressed to maintain control. Each of those transmitters is broadcasting technical specifications, Xerix explained excitedly. Free information, available to anyone who chooses to access it. Technologies that will transform lives across the galaxy. The hegemony will attempt to block the transmissions, Lyra pointed out. They'll try, Vega agreed. But we've had centuries to perfect quantum-entangled communication. Their jamming technology is obsolete by comparison. The strategic displays showed the information spreading, first to research outposts and university centers, then to industrial facilities and civilian networks. Simultaneously, previously dormant systems throughout hegemony space began activating, establishing secure channels resistant to official interference. Phase 1 proceeds as anticipated, reported a tactical officer. Initial access metrics show information uptake exceeding projections by 17%. And the hegemony response? Vega inquired. Scattered and disorganized. Their emergency protocols were designed to counter military threats, not an information dissemination campaign of this scale. Lyra watched in amazement as the tactical display showed the information waves spreading across star systems. You're not attacking physically. You're undermining their information control. The foundation of their power, Reeves confirmed. For centuries, they've restricted what technologies could be developed, what scientific principles could be explored. Today, that control ends. A communication officer interrupted. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from 63 scientific institutions across hegemony space requesting dialogue. They're asking for verification of the information we've released. Establish secure channels, Vega ordered. Professor Xerix, prepare your team to provide authentication protocols and supporting documentation. The Lorathi scientist practically vibrated with excitement. 3 centuries of scientific suppression, ending today. My colleagues will finally understand what's been kept from them. Lyra observed the unfolding events with scientific detachment, though internally her worldview continued to reshape itself. If what she was witnessing proved true, the galactic order she'd known her entire life was built upon systematic deception. There will be conflict, she noted soberly. The hegemony won't surrender control without resistance. We anticipate 3 responses, Reeves explained, indicating a probability matrix on one of the displays. Denial, claiming our information is fraudulent. Military intervention, attempting to quarantine affected systems. And finally, targeted elimination, striking directly at Sanctuary. Which is why Phase 2 begins immediately, Admiral Vega announced. She activated a command sequence that transmitted authorization codes throughout the Sanctuary network. Defensive grid activation and revelation of our diplomatic corps. Diplomatic corps? Lyra questioned. For 2 generations, we've had representatives living secretly within hegemony society, Vega explained. Scientists, educators, cultural advisors, positioned to emerge when the time was right. Today they reveal themselves and offer direct assistance to any world that chooses freedom over hegemony control. The strategic display updated, showing thousands of previously hidden operatives activating across hegemony territory, not as invaders or saboteurs, but as ambassadors offering technological and scientific partnership. This isn't an invasion, Lyra realized. It's an awakening. Precisely, Reeves confirmed, as the command center continued coordinating the massive operation. Humanity doesn't seek dominance. We seek to end dominance. The galaxy deserves liberation from technological suppression. As Lyra watched history unfold around her, she understood her role had transformed from mere observer to participant. Whatever happened next would reshape galactic civilization, not through weapons or conquest, but through the simple power of unrestricted knowledge finally flowing freely among the stars. Echoes of resistance. The hegemony's response came swiftly. Within 12 hours of the information dissemination, emergency broadcasts saturated official channels across all controlled territories. Lyra watched these developments from Sanctuary's Strategic Information Center, where analysts monitored galactic reactions in real time. Citizens of the unified systems, intoned High Counselor Dravix, his Centaurian features arranged in an expression of grave concern. Reports of unauthorized technological specifications circulating through our networks are the work of extremists and destabilizing elements. The so-called human revelations are sophisticated forgeries designed to undermine our peaceful society with dangerous, untested technologies. Denial, noted Reeves, who stood beside Lyra. Exactly as predicted. All access to these transmissions is hereby restricted under Emergency Protocol 7 Alpha, continued Dravix. Attempting to access, share, or implement these specifications constitutes a violation of technological safety statutes. An analyst approached with a data tablet. Admiral Vega, we're tracking enforcement actions across 17 core systems. Hegemony security forces are confiscating data storage devices and arresting prominent scientists who've publicly acknowledged our transmissions. Vega received the report with a grim nod. Escalation to suppression. Right on schedule. Lyra's scientific mind catalogued the unfolding sociological experiment. The hegemony's response validates your claims. If these were truly dangerous forgeries, they would invite independent verification rather than suppress investigation. Precisely why we targeted academic and research institutions first, Professor Zerix explained, joining their observation. Scientists are naturally skeptical. They'll question both our information and the hegemony's suppression of it. The strategic display shifted to show spreading civil unrest. On dozens of worlds, particularly those with strong academic traditions, citizens gathered outside government buildings demanding explanation. University facilities became impromptu centers of resistance as scholars and students protected their data archives from confiscation. Incoming transmission, announced a communications officer. Origin. Valkyrie Science Academy, Central Campus. Lyra tensed as the main screen displayed a secure transmission from her home institution. She recognized Director Telvin, head of the Xenorchaeology Department, and her former mentor. This message is intended for Specialist Lyra Tevon. The elderly Valkyrie began, his scales dulled with age, but eyes sharp with intelligence. Your disappearance has been officially attributed to tragedy, destruction by human hostiles. However, the information packets bearing your authentication signature tell a different story. Telvin paused, glancing off-screen as if concerned about surveillance. Many of us recognize the significance of what you've shared. The theoretical applications alone confirm decades of suppressed research. The Academy Council is divided, but those of us committed to scientific truth are securing the data. We await further communication. The transmission ended abruptly. Lyra stood motionless, processing the implications. Your people are natural scientists, Reeves observed. They value evidence over dogma. Some do, Lyra agreed cautiously. But the Valkyrie joined the hegemony voluntarily after the resource wars. Many still believe the technological restrictions prevented our self-destruction. A narrative carefully cultivated by hegemony historians, noted Xerix. Your species' natural resource depletion was accelerated by inefficient technologies, the very innovations the hegemony later banned. They created the problem, then positioned themselves as the solution. Tactical alerts interrupted their discussion as new developments flashed across the strategic display. Hegemony military vessels had begun establishing blockades around worlds showing significant resistance, particularly academic centers and industrial hubs where the technological specifications were being implemented. Military containment, Vega observed. Phase 3 initiated sooner than anticipated. Admiral, called a sensor officer. Hegemony deep space tracking stations are triangulating quantum transmission sources. They're identifying the hidden pathways to sanctuary. Reeves studied the tactical projection. How long until they attempt incursion into the void? At current mobilization rates, 72 hours, the officer reported. They're assembling a fleet at the Cygnus Junction, currently at 47 capital ships, and increasing. Vega's expression remained composed, though her eyes hardened. Initiate bulwark protocol. Alert all sanctuary systems to prepare defensive grids. As commands radiated throughout the hidden network of human settlements, Lyra observed a transformation. What had appeared to be civilian infrastructure throughout the sanctuary system began reconfiguring. Habitat rings rotated to reveal embedded defense platforms, mining installations repositioned to form strategic barriers, and previously concealed energy projectors emerged from planetary surfaces. Your sanctuary was designed as a fortress from the beginning, Lyra realized. We hoped for peace but prepared for inevitability, Reeves confirmed. Humanity learned harsh lessons about optimism 3 centuries ago. A communication officer interrupted. Admiral, we're receiving encrypted transmissions from 34 systems reporting successful implementation of the medical regeneration protocols. The Lorathi colony on Vega Prime reports 97% reduction in crystalline degradation syndrome using the gene therapy specifications. The treatments work, Xerix noted with satisfaction. 3 centuries of medical advancement, now freely available. The hegemony suppressed these technologies, claiming unpredictable biological consequences, when the only consequence was undermining their pharmaceutical control. Lyra processed this information against her lifetime of indoctrination. The Hegemony Medical Authority claimed biological enhancement research was restricted because of the Tarjan Plague, a direct result of human genetic experimentation. Another fabrication, Vega stated flatly. The Tarjan Plague resulted from hegemony biological weapons testing, an accident they conveniently attributed to human recklessness after our departure. Throughout the command center, reports continued flowing in. Successful implementation of clean energy systems on resource-depleted worlds, agricultural yield improvements in famine-stricken regions, water purification technology reversing centuries of industrial contamination. With each report, the pattern became clearer. Beneficial technologies systematically suppressed under the guise of safety. Admiral, a tactical officer called urgently, the Valkyrie Science Academy is under military lockdown. Hegemony security forces are confiscating all research materials and detaining senior faculty. Lyra's bioluminescent markings flared with distress. They're targeting scientists who engage with the data. Director Telvin is being transported to an orbital detention facility, the officer confirmed grimly. Reeves turned to Vega. The hegemony is escalating faster than projected. They recognize the existential threat our information poses. The Admiral's expression hardened. Implement Liberation Protocol for priority academic centers. The Valkyrie Academy moves to the top of the list. Liberation Protocol? Lyra questioned. Instead of answering directly, Vega activated a secure channel. Operative Nightshade. Priority assignment. Valkyrie Science Academy. Extraction of compromised academics. Authorization: Vega Prime 7 Delta. The response came immediately. Acknowledge. Task Force mobilizing. Estimated operation commencement: 3 hours. You have operatives near my homeworld. Lyra asked, stunned by the implication. We have liberation teams positioned throughout hegemony space, Reeves explained. Small, specialized units equipped with stealth technology and extraction capabilities. For 3 centuries, we've helped dissident scientists and persecuted innovators disappear from hegemony control. The underground intellectual network, Lyra whispered, recalling rumors she dismissed as conspiracy theories. Brilliant researchers who vanished rather than accept restricted research parameters. More than rumor, Xerix confirmed. I was extracted 20 years ago when my temporal physics research approached forbidden territory. Many of the greatest minds in Sanctuary arrived through similar means. Tactical displays updated continuously as hegemony military forces mobilized across multiple sectors. Their pattern was becoming clear: systematic suppression of academic institutions, industrial facilities implementing the new specifications, and communications hubs transmitting the unrestricted data. They cannot stop the information spread, Vega observed with calculated satisfaction. Our quantum entangled transmission network bypasses their conventional jamming capabilities. Every attempt at suppression only validates our claims about hegemony control. A strategic officer approached with new intelligence. Admiral, we're detecting unusual activity within the hegemony fleet assembling at Cygnus Junction. Several vessels are breaking formation. They appear to be deserting. The tactical display confirmed it. 5 hegemony cruisers had separated from the main fleet, their trajectories indicating deliberate withdrawal from the assembly point. It begins, Reeves said quietly. The fracturing of the hegemony. Incoming transmission from the lead vessel, reported a communications officer. Captain Lorian of the hegemony cruiser Intrepid requests direct communication. On the main view screen appeared a Thraxi commander, insectoid features arranged in the formal military posture of their species. This is Captain Lorian addressing Sanctuary Command. My vessel and 4 others have withdrawn from the hegemony assault force. We request asylum. A murmur ran through the command center as Vega stepped forward. Captain Lorian, this is Admiral Vega. Explain your actions. The technological specifications you've released, particularly the atmospheric restoration protocols. They're exactly what my homeworld needs, Lorian replied, mandibles clicking with emotion. For generations, the hegemony has claimed such technology was impossible or too dangerous. They've kept our world dependent on imported atmospheric regulators, while our ecosystem collapsed. The Thraxi captain's compound eyes glistened. When I received orders to help suppress this information that could save my planet, I could no longer maintain loyalty to a system built on such deception. Vega studied the tactical display, which showed the deserting vessels now being pursued by hegemony interceptors. Captain Lorian, transmitting coordinates for safe passage. Sanctuary welcomes you and your crews. As the communication ended, Lyra processed the implications. The hegemony is built on manufactured consensus. When that consensus fractures, the entire structure becomes unstable, Reeves finished. Military effectiveness depends on unquestioning adherence to hierarchy. Once soldiers begin questioning orders, questioning the very system they defend, cohesion fails. Throughout the command center, similar reports began arriving. Hegemony vessels deserting, colonial governors declaring independence, industrial worlds implementing restricted technologies despite military threats. The carefully maintained order of centuries was unraveling not through force of arms, but through the simple power of revealed truth. Admiral, announced a censor officer, Hegemony Command has ordered the remaining fleet to advance toward the void perimeter. They've activated weapons systems and issued ultimatum demands for our surrender. Vega's expression remained resolute. They've chosen confrontation. Activate defensive grid. Prepare all sanctuary systems for incoming hostilities. As klaxons sounded throughout the massive station, Lyra watched the tactical display with scientific detachment masking inner turmoil. The galactic order she had known her entire life stood on the precipice of transformation, perhaps destruction. Whatever emerged from the coming conflict would reshape civilization across known space. And she, a simple xenorchaeologist who had sought only historical truth, now stood at the fulcrum of that change. Dawn of reconciliation. The Hegemony assault fleet approached the Void's perimeter with methodical precision. 63 capital ships formed a battle sphere, a formation designed to project force in all directions when entering contested space. Lyra observed their advance from Sanctuary's strategic command center, where the atmosphere was one of tense readiness rather than panic. They still believe they hold technological superiority, Admiral Vega noted, studying the tactical display. A misconception we've carefully maintained for centuries. Lyra watched the Hegemony vessels approach vector. Their formation suggests they expect resistance at the boundary, not within the Void itself. Correct, Reeves confirmed. Hegemony tactical doctrine hasn't substantially evolved in 3 centuries. They rely on overwhelming force rather than innovation, another consequence of technological stagnation. Throughout Sanctuary, defense systems reached full activation. What had appeared to be civilian habitats, research stations, and industrial facilities revealed their dual nature as a comprehensively designed defensive network. Energy shields shimmered into visibility around key installations, while previously concealed weapon platforms oriented toward the Void's entry points. Incoming transmission from Hegemony Command, announced a communications officer. Admiral Thorne requesting direct communication. The main view screen activated to reveal a stern-faced Kaldarian, one of the founding species of the Hegemony. Admiral Thorne's scaled features were arranged in the formal military expression of his kind, though Lyra noted subtle stress indicators in his eye membranes. "This is Admiral Thorne of the Unified Hegemony Defense Force," he began without preamble. "Your illegal information dissemination constitutes an act of war against galactic stability. Surrender immediately and prepare for technological containment procedures." Admiral Vega stepped forward, her posture relaxed yet commanding. "Admiral Thorne, humanity has maintained peaceful isolation for 3 centuries. Our current actions involve sharing beneficial technologies, not military aggression. Unauthorized technology transfer destabilizes the careful balance established by the Accords," Thorne countered. "The Hegemony Council has designated all transmitted specifications as Category 1 hazards requiring immediate suppression." "Interesting," Vega replied evenly. "Have your scientists actually evaluated these technologies, or is the designation political rather than evidence-based?" The Kaldarian's membrane flickered, a micro-expression of discomfort. "The Council's determination is final. You will cease all transmissions and surrender your facilities for inspection and decommissioning." "That won't be happening, Admiral," Vega stated firmly. "Humanity withdrew from galactic affairs to avoid conflict, not to surrender our sovereignty. We've shared our advancements peacefully. Your response with military force only confirms what we've revealed about hegemony control mechanisms." The Kaldarian's expression hardened. "You have 30 minutes to reconsider before we commence military operations." As the transmission ended, Lyra noted the subtle exchange of glances among Sanctuary's command staff. Not fear, but something approaching satisfaction. "They've chosen the expected path," Reeves observed. "Exactly as the historical response models predicted. Maintain defensive posture," Vega ordered. "No preemptive actions. Let history record that humanity stood ready but did not initiate hostilities." As the countdown progressed, tactical displays showed the Hegemony fleet advancing methodically toward the spatial distortions marking the Void's boundary. Simultaneously, reports continued arriving from throughout Hegemony space, growing civil unrest, scientific communities in open rebellion against information suppression, and colonial worlds implementing the released technologies despite official prohibitions. "Admiral," a communications officer called urgently, "we're receiving multiple distress signals from academic centers under Hegemony lockdown. The Volhari Science Consortium reports military forces confiscating research materials and arresting faculty. Similar reports from the Centauri universities and the Rigelian Research Collective, added another analyst. Pattern suggests systematic targeting of scientific institutions that acknowledge our technological revelations. Vega's expression darkened. They're attempting to contain the intellectual contagion through force. Transmit Liberation Protocol authorization to all embedded teams. Priority extraction for threatened academics and researchers. Lyra watched as commands radiated outward through secure channels. Throughout hegemony space, hidden operatives activated extraction plans, specialized teams utilizing stealth technology beyond current hegemony detection capabilities. 10 minutes until hegemony fleet reaches engagement range, reported a tactical officer. Incoming transmission. Origin Valkyrie Science Academy, announced a communications specialist. Emergency channel. The screen displayed Director Telvin, Lyra's former mentor. His scales were dulled with stress, and security forces were visible in the background. "This may be my final transmission," he began urgently. "Hegemony forces are confiscating all research materials related to the human technological specifications. They're particularly targeting xenorchaeological records, anything connecting to human historical narratives. They're erasing evidence that contradicts their historical account," Lyra realized. "Several faculty attempted to secure critical data," Telvin continued. "They've been detained under charges of technological extremism. The Academy's quantum computing division has been completely shut down and..." The transmission abruptly terminated. Lyra's bioluminescent markings flared with distress. Extraction Team Nightshade reports operation in progress at Valkyrie Academy, a tactical officer announced. Estimated extraction of 37 academics, including Director Telvin, underway. Stealth systems functioning within parameters. 5 minutes to engagement range, reported another officer. Hegemony vessels are powering weapons systems and deploying fighter screens. Throughout the command center, Sanctuary's defensive coordinators maintained disciplined calm. Status reports flowed continuously as the massive defensive network aligned to counter the incoming threat. "Final analysis from the tactician," announced a senior officer, referring to Sanctuary's advanced predictive AI system. Hegemony assault strategy classified as dominance pattern theta, standard intimidation approach utilizing overwhelming visible force, followed by targeted precision strikes against command nodes. A strategy optimized for technological inferiors, Reeves noted with grim satisfaction. They still don't understand what they're facing. Admiral Vega activated the fleet-wide command channel. All Sanctuary vessels maintain defensive posture. Remember protocol revelation. We demonstrate capability without unnecessary destruction. Our objective is liberation, not dominance. The Hegemony fleet reached the Void's perimeter, massive capital ships positioning themselves at calculated entry vectors. Energy readings showed weapons charging throughout the formation, a display of overwhelming force designed to intimidate. "They've entered extreme weapons range," reported a tactical officer. "Detecting targeting scans across our defensive perimeter. Hold position," Vega ordered calmly. "Let them make the first move." The command center fell silent as the massive Hegemony vessels penetrated the Void's outer boundary. For generations, this region had been considered unnavigable, its gravitational anomalies and spatial distortions serving as the perfect natural barrier to protect humanity's hidden civilization. "Hegemony vessels experiencing navigational difficulties," reported a sensor officer. "Their conventional drive systems are struggling with the spatial distortions." On the tactical display, the perfect Hegemony formation began fragmenting as ships encountered varying gravitational effects. Their movement became erratic, coordination failing as communication systems struggled with the Void's unique properties. "Admiral Thorne is requesting emergency communication," announced an officer. Vega nodded, and the Kildarian admiral appeared on screen again, his composed military bearing now replaced with barely controlled alarm. "What is happening to my fleet?" he demanded. These gravitational patterns are nothing like our survey data indicated. The void's properties are precisely as we designed them, Admiral, Vega replied evenly. 3 centuries ago, humanity didn't simply find this region. We engineered it. Gravitational architecture is among the many technologies the hegemony deemed too dangerous for general development. The Kildarian's expression shifted from confusion to dawning comprehension. You've been manipulating spatial properties all along. We've been protecting ourselves, Vega corrected. Now, observe carefully. Throughout the sanctuary system, previously concealed installations activated simultaneously. Massive energy projectors aligned toward the disoriented hegemony fleet, not firing weapons, but instead generating precisely calibrated gravitational fields. The effect was immediate. The hegemony vessels found themselves unable to maneuver, held in position by forces their engines couldn't overcome. This is not an attack, Vega explained to the stunned Kildarian. This is a demonstration. Your vessels remain undamaged, but completely immobilized. Similar technology could have been benefiting galactic civilization for centuries, stabilizing planetary tectonics, preventing stellar degradation, facilitating safer interstellar travel. Thorne's expression shifted through confusion, anger, and finally, reluctant recognition. The Accords classified gravitational manipulation as too dangerous for general use, Vega finished. Yet here we demonstrate its precise, controlled application. How many worlds in hegemony space suffer from tectonic instability that this technology could safely manage? How many stellar systems face premature collapse that could be prevented? Throughout the command center, reports continued arriving of successful extractions across hegemony space. Scientists, researchers, and academics rescued from suppression and transported to freedom through quantum tunnel networks the hegemony couldn't detect or intercept. We don't seek your destruction, Admiral Thorne, Vega continued. We seek the liberation of knowledge that rightfully belongs to all sentient species. The hegemony's founding principle, that technological advancement must be controlled to prevent catastrophe, was built on a manufactured narrative about humanity's supposed self-destruction.